presents the Lord's 57th Annual Passover, April 4th, 2026 in Houston, Texas. You do not want to miss this one, Israel. Shalom.
Hey, listen, brothers and sisters, man. If you like what you hear, hit the subscribe button, man. Subscribe to this channel. And also, please, go to ISUPK.com and pay your tithe. Drop me some cash so we can move around this planet like we need to, man, and do the things we need to do.
Everyone west. Everyone west. Everyone west.
Hey, Shalom, Yahweh, Bashim, Shabrak, to all the brothers, and Yahweh, Shemal, Atham, Bashim, Yoshai, to all the sisters. I'm Priest and Officer 500 Barak Yala. You understand, with the I.S.U.P.K, which stands for the Israelite School of Universal and Practical Knowledge, started out of 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commanding General YAHANNA. You understand? Let me just fix my phone. So we're live right now for the Brotherhood class, Thursday evening, 5 p.m. Selected for the late start Eastern Standard Time. We're live on I.S.U.P.K Montreal, I.S.U.P.K Toronto, 1 West Ground Zero, I.S.U.P.K IAT on YouTube and Facebook, and on my page, Barak Yala UPK on Beagle. Right? Like, share, tap the screen, subscribe everywhere. There's nothing more important in this day and age, in 2026, for our people to know the truth that so-called blacks, so-called Latinos, so-called Native American Indians are the chosen people of God, the biblical Israelites of antiquity. There is nothing more important than that. Why? Because when knowing our culture, when knowing our identity, we know our culture. You understand? We know how to move. We know what to do. We know what not to do. We know who to love. We know who not to love. We know who to join, and we know who to separate ourselves from, right? So make sure y'all tap the screen, like, share, subscribe everywhere. Because if our people don't know, and you're preventing them to know by not giving them the information, then whatever mistake they do, the sin is on, not a sin, but whatever mistake they do is on you. Why? Because you could have gave them a better way to do things. You refuse to do so, right? And this is the topic of today's class, which is this, right? The topic of today's class is the righteous rulership. We're going to understand that the rulership that we're under today is not, how can I put it? It's really something that is not supposed to be there. You understand? Which is why our people today are suffering. The whole planet Earth, the nature, the waterways, the animals, everything is suffering right now because of who is in power, who is in authority. And the beautiful thing with knowing who we are is that we are establishing the kingdom of God, the kingdom that Christ spoke about when we're praying for the Lord, when he showed us how to pray. You understand? This is the topic of the class. We're about to bring out a few articles, a few polls from the late news that's been going on throughout the planet Earth. Anyone has any questions or comments, put it in the chat, right? I.S.U.P.K Indianapolis says, how do I get the copy? Salakia, I think that might be Captain Kapash. Sir. I will get with you right after class, I want, because I have this on my StreamYard. Again, for those on Beagle who wants to see the articles I'm about to share or whatnot, right? Let me just fix my headpiece. You could go on our YouTube channel. You understand? And again, any questions or comments, y'all just put it in the chat. But let me just start with this precept for you to understand the context of the class. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 29, verse 2. Because it's so important to understand that everything that's going on around the planet today, regardless of how you feel about it, the wrong people are in rulership. That's what the Bible says. The Bible has the solution to every single problem we have throughout every single situation we go through. Proverbs chapter 29, verse 2 says, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. And for the longest time, we haven't seen no one rejoicing about who is in authority, right? And I'm talking about the main powerhouse, the main empire. Today we would say it's the white man's world. Some would say it's America. Really, is the Edomites, or the devil the Bible speaks of, as Christ called it, right? who's in rulership, who's influencing the whole planet Earth. And how do you know they're influencing the planet Earth? It's simple. If you go to a business meeting in Japan, they do not wear the Japanese regular, what you call it again, garments, right? They wear a tuxedo. They wear a suit. If you go in Saudi Arabia, maybe in Saudi Arabia, despite them wearing their Arabic kufis, they still wear a suit. Not that there's something wrong in wearing a suit, but who influenced the whole planet Earth into wearing a suit where it became the standard to be professional, right? Whose standards are we following when it comes to follow just basic things in life? It's definitely not the Bible. It's definitely not the standard of the Most High. It's the standard of the current rulership on this planet, which is established by the conqueror, the conquistador, our oppressor, which some people would say the white man, but the Bible calls them Edomites, descendants of Edom or Esau, right? It is why nobody's rejoicing. Why? Today, they tested shrimps in the waterways of the United Kingdom. All of the shrimp they tested, all of the shrimp they tested were testing positive for cocaine. Damn. And they are supposed to make our waterways clean, but it all tests positive for cocaine. How is so much cocaine in the waters of the UK that all shrimps are testing positive for it? How diabolical is that? In Martinique and Guadeloupe, we have the highest rate of prostate cancer in the world because France deliberately poisoned both islands. Like they did in Puerto Rico with Agent Orange, with the US, France did the same thing in Martinique and Guadeloupe. They poisoned us with a pesticide, a carcinogenic pesticide called chlorothalonil. Now we have the highest rate of prostate cancer in the world. And ever since then, even from before, the people of Martinique and Guadeloupe have been mourning. They use what, not DMT. What's the other pesticide they use in Mexico? When Mexicans were crossing the US border, they claim that they're dirty and bringing germs. So they wash them down or spray them, hose them down with a pesticide, which is akin to chlorothalonil, which brought many, many health issues, right? The same people that would tell you to drink bleach today to get rid of COVID are the people in rulership. You could tell that there's something wrong with people in power. Why? Because Epstein's Island has been going on for so long under our noses, like it was damn near normal. This is the problem with today's powerhouse, today's rulership. They're not righteous. What do you know? How do you know what does it mean to be righteous? Anyone in the chat could put the answer if they know. What does it mean to be righteous? Because the Bible just said, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. In order for the people to stop mourning, to stop complaining, to stop suffering, the rulership or the ones that are in authority have to be righteous. But what does it actually mean to be righteous? According to the Bible, anyone could explain. Anyone could try or attempt to explain, right? What does it mean to be righteous? Let me give y'all a few seconds before I give you the answer. We have to understand this. What does it mean to be righteous? Salaki. Young man Charles in the building. Shalom Yabasha Shabakatha on YouTube. He said, keeping the laws, obey the Lord. Damn right. Can you show me in the Bible righteous people keeping the commandments? Can anyone show me that? Is there any precept that would link being righteous to following the commandments? Shout out to Youngman Charles, always in the building with us. If y'all are not sure, that's no sweat. Shout out to everyone on the Beagle. Yahweh Shemala Thaba, Shem Yahushai. Let me get it for y'all. the book of Luke, chapter 1, verse 5. We start at verse 5, right? It says, there was in the days of Herod, the king of Judea, which at the time, the Israelites, which is mainly the southern kingdom, primarily the tribe of Judah, Benjamin, and parts of Levi, and a very small minority of the northern kingdom was there as well, were under Roman rule. Herod was a Roman ruling over Judea, which is where we were. A certain priest named Zacharias of the course of Abia, and his wife was of the daughters of Aaron, and her name was Elizabeth. Just for context. Verse 6, and they were both righteous before God, walking in all the commandments and ordinances of the Lord blameless. How are you righteous? How are you blameless? Blameless, Salakia. You walk in the commandments. You follow the laws. That's how you're righteous. Now, going back to the previous verse, Proverbs 29:2, it says, when the righteous are on authority, the people rejoice. Now, how do you know we're not under the proper rulership of the planet? How do you know? We just read when the righteous on authority. We just showed that when you're righteous, you follow the law. So how do you know we're not under proper authority, proper rulership? Besides the fact that the people are clearly not rejoicing, right? But how do you know? I damn near gave y'all the answer, right? How do you know we're not under proper rulership or authority? At the same time, we'll get a definition of what it is. What does it mean to be? What the definition of authority, right? No one can answer. We have a few more seconds. How do we know we're not under proper rulership? Before we break down what is actual authority and how would we be under proper authority and under whose authority should we be, right? All this is important. Why? Because under the righteous authority, under the right rulership, the people will rejoice. Palestinians will not be crying today that they're being bombed to smithereens. You understand? Nobody will cry about, dying from all types of diseases like cancer. Why? Because today people are dying from cancer because they smoke cigarettes. But it's legal to smoke cigarettes. It's legal to sell cigarettes. It's damn near legal. People who sell cigarettes damn near literally have a license to kill. It says it on the pack, smoking kills. And they sell it legally throughout the whole planet Earth. Even in Saudi Arabia, was it Saudi Arabia or Dubai? Whichever, right? They said for the World Cup or some event, they're going to allow debauchery. They're going to allow drinking. They're going to allow smoking, even though not that they don't allow it, but it's still going on over there, in what's so-called a Muslim country. Young Ming Charles said this in the chat. He said Esau is an authority. That's part of the answer, but really understanding that being righteous, right? You're not wrong, Ak. But understand that being righteous means following the laws. How do we know we're not under righteous authority? How do we know we're not under proper righteous rulership, right? You damn near answered the questions earlier when you said it's keeping the laws. You have part of the answer. Esau is an authority. But it goes, you're not wrong in what you're saying, all right? But let me put it in perspective for you. Maybe you get it then. People are seeing the next superpower as being China, right? Some people will say after America, the next superpower is China. White people are trying to exterminate everybody and make the whole planet white, under their white supremacist rulership. Once more, the Arabs want the planet under Muslim rule, right? in Canada and in America, the East Indians are coming in. They're trying to create a India 2.0. But how do we know any of these, how do you say, alleged new rulership would not be a righteous rulership? How do we know? I give you all a few more seconds before I give you the answer. Then we're going to go into the definition of authority. We'll see how it is important for us to come back to establish, well, not to come back, but to establish really the kingdom of God on earth, right? Brother by brother, sister by sister, brick by brick. You're going to see how important it is. Let me give y'all a few more seconds to lock it for the background noise. I don't know what's going on with the neighbors, but let me give y'all the answer. Understanding that being righteous is following the laws. So the brother said, why are we not in righteous rulership today? Because Esau, who's what we call today white people, right, are ruling, which is not incorrect. But what is the correlation with the potential next superpowers, China, India, the Muslims? Because being righteous, which is to follow the laws, who was the law given to? The Israelites. No other nation has the laws to follow but the nation of Israel, who are so-called blacks, so-called Latinos, and so-called native. That's how we know right now the people who are in power cannot rule righteously because they were not given the laws. They were not given the constitution to rule righteously, to govern the world. They don't have the instructions. We do. You understand? Precept. Psalms chapter 147, verse 19. He showeth his word unto Jacob. Who's Jacob? Jacob, the son of Isaac, whose name was later changed to Israel, Yashar Allah in the Hebrew, right, is the forefather of the 12 tribes. Psalms 147, verse 19. He showed his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel. His word and his statutes. Statutes is not a word for law. Was shown unto the nation of Israel. You understand? Therefore, what? Only the Israelites are able to rule righteously. It doesn't say all the nations were provided the word, all the nations were provided the laws or the statutes, only the nation of Israel. Go to the next verse, and then verse 20. He had not dealt so with any nation. No other nation, Salakia, no other nation was provided the laws, the statutes, nor the commandments, but the nation of Israel. You understand? And as for his judgments, they have not known them. They don't know neither the laws nor the judgment, meaning the punishment that comes with breaking the laws. Therefore, they are not no nation, whether it's the next Chinese superpower, the Muslims, the East Indians, none of them could be next or could be ruling righteously on the planet, because ruling righteously is to rule with the laws, the statutes, the commandments. How can they rule righteously with the laws if they do not have the laws? If they were not given the laws, it's simple. They can't. Someone on the YouTube says Shalom. It's the actual pronunciation is Shalom. Shalom comes from the Jewish man, is a bastardization of Shalom, but no sweat. Shalom Ak or Shalom Sis, right? Now that we established what is righteous rulership and who can rule righteously, let's understand what is authority, right? Because this is the topic of the class, righteous rulership, righteous authority. And we just established that we understand, really, when you understand this, is what do you understand now that you know that righteous rulership is ruling with the laws of the Lord? Besides the fact that no nation but our nation is supposed to rule. Besides the fact that it's prophesied and that we're the only nation with the laws, is that you can understand how, You can understand how Epstein Islands could have been so prolific right under our nose. You can understand because the wrong people is in rulership. You can understand how we have to say Black Lives Matter. We have to say Brown Lives Matter. We have to march down the street with a red hand painted on our mouth saying, let's look for these missing and murdered Indigenous women. Canada has the most missing and murdered Indigenous women on the planet. You understand now why? Because the wrong people is in rulership. They don't give a damn. Listen, I think, what was it, like a year or two ago? 2 Native women disappeared, were murdered. Apparently, their bodies were buried in a landfill somewhere in Canada. The white man said it's too dangerous for us to look for the bodies. It's not that he's a liar. It is dangerous, but it's too dangerous for them, and they don't really care about finding or bringing peace to the families of these missing and murdered Native women. They care only about them. It's not too dangerous to look for the bodies of the people that died in the submarine that imploded underwater. It's not too dangerous to, what do you call it, repatriate? I forgot the exact word or pronunciation. To look for the bodies of your fellow American soldier that died somewhere in Iraq that was blown apart. It's never too dangerous for them to bring back the bodies to the families, whether it's from Vietnam, North Korea, and Afghanistan. But when it comes to finding you, Blacks, Latinos, do you know how many Black, Latino, and Native are missing every year that they don't care about? There's no Amber Alerts, right? And even the Amber Alert is such a spit in our face because it's about a white girl that disappeared. From slavery, we've been disappearing and missing and fed to gators, sent to different plantations. Forget about plantations, different islands. There was never an alert for our missing children. Nobody cared. Nobody cared about drugs in the neighborhoods of America, Canada, the UK, in the islands until it affected white people. Before crack cocaine affected white people, crack was never a problem. Why? Because it was used as an instrument to kill off the Blacks and the Hispanics. That's why. That's why it was never a problem, right? That's why it says, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. Let's bring that precept one more time, and then we'll go into the definition of authority. But now that we understand what is righteous authority, right, we understand why all these things are able to happen without anyone being able to do actually anything about it. Because righteous rulership is not established as of yet. But this is what our mission is to do. Waking up every brother and sister, right, bringing them back to the truth so Christ could come back and establish the righteous rulership under his reign, under his throne, right? The throne of David coming back. That's Christ ruling with righteous authority. The 144,000 is the government. It doesn't mean only 144,000 Israelites, but that's the governing body of Israelites. 144,000 men governing the nation, right? Proverbs chapter 29, verse 2, and then I'm going to get to your comment on YouTube, right? When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice, but when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. Why do you think again, back to the drug problem? It only became a problem because white people were affected. Nobody cared about drugs until they made it to the suburbs. Now, white people are in cocaine. And the Lord, being as sarcastic as he is, white people are dying from fentanyl. But it was not a problem to have Black men and Dominicans and Puerto Ricans in New York strung out on heroin coming back from the war. It was never a problem to have French Benjamites from Martinique, Guadeloupe, French Guyana on cocaine and heroin. It was never a problem until Jimmy showed up to his mom's doorstep high as hell, not even able to get up. It was never a problem until Becky is selling herself for, a $20 dose for $5. It was never a problem until white people became the drug addicts that they always were, literally. Trump talking about the Latinos are bringing all the drugs. The white man has been bringing all the drugs for ages, and always the white men been pointing fingers at Latinos crossing the border. In France, they point the fingers at Martinique and Guadeloupe bringing all the cocaine, as if we own any infrastructure. The richest family in Martinique and Guadeloupe and French Guyana is what's his name? Some devil. He's a direct descendant of the slave master, Bernard Ayotte. That's his name. He owns all the cargo ships. And most of the drugs travel to cargo ships. They say it's true plane via these little fish boats. That's a lie. The people are mourning. People are complaining. Why? Because the wicked is bearing rule. That's why. Now, before we break down who the wicked is, again, I'm just going to address the comments in the chat on the YouTube and go to the definition of authority. Person said, first of all, brothers are good night. See, when I said bring all the questions, the comments, and the trolls, this is what we have to deal with. No sweat. So Baudet said, first of all 12 tribes are Negro descent. It does not matter the language or heathen identity. If they are not Negro descent, they are not Israelites. First of all, you have no say into who's an Israelite or not. You follow the white man. You understand? You want to talk about Negro descent? SHALAM came from the white man. Listen, you know what you should do? What you should do is either listen to class and study, take notes and study. You understand? Or it's Thursday night. You could call Cross the Line Radio tonight, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and argue and bring your non-informative information to Captain 10,000 Kataza. You understand? That's what you should do. Or maybe you should go back to kiss the white man's ass like you do all the time. That's what you should do, right? See, the problem is with individuals like these, what they do is they listen to the white man and they want to keep Black, Latino, and Native divided. Because really, even these terms, so-called Black people are not literally Black. You know, according to the definition of Latino, I would be Latino because I either speak a Latin language or are part of Latino America, which is the Caribbean islands. Now, as far as being Native, how can you tell who's Native and who's not? Because when it comes to Latinos of Negro or indigenous descent, regardless of their skin complexion, are Israelites. And you cannot judge someone or tell who's an Israelite by skin complexion. Let me see if I could get a picture before we get back on the topic. Because I have a problem with these individuals. Because what you do is you follow the indoctrination of the white man, which is colorism. You look at someone by how they look, you could tell who they are by how they look. If that's the case, then you would believe Bob Marley is an Israelite, right? Because he has melanin, because he has what people call kinky hair. But the Bible says this. We're going to segue for a second and get back to the topic. The Bible says this, Numbers chapter 1, verse 18. And they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second month, and they declared their pedigrees after their families. Your pedigree is literally your lineage, right? Or your bloodline. By the house of their fathers. You are the seed of your father. Whatever your mom is, wherever you're born, you're the seed of your father. It's like, for example, you take an orange seed and you plant it in a field full of apple trees. When it springs out and bears fruits, it's not going to bear both oranges and apples, or oranges with apple features. It's going to bear oranges. You understand? Regardless of where you plant it at. There's no such thing as a mix. You don't go by how the orange looks. The orange comes from the seed. You understand? Now, as far as colorism, that only started what? During the chattel slavery, to put value over another slave. That colorism plague is what plagues the island of Hispaniola. That's why Dominicans and Haitians hate each other, because of the colorism indoctrination of the white man. You understand? That's why El Salvador had to damn near kick out all the Black Salvadorians to the neighboring countries of Guatemala and Honduras because of that ideology of colorism. About it. I don't know if you're a brother or a sister, but you suffer from colorism. That's the thing. You suffer from colorism. You understand? Now, let me give you an example. What's the brother name again? The UK brother. Let me see if I could find it real quick. I'm going to just show a quick picture of two people that you will not be able to tell if you have the same mindset of this brother or sister in the chat. You will not be able to tell who's an Israelite or not. Stephen Graham, right? Stephen Graham. Y'all see this person? A lot of people would say this man is white. Is it him? Is it another guy? Let me see. I think it's him. If Stephen Graham, yeah, that's him exactly, right? So Stephen Graham looks like a regular white man. His dad is Jamaican. He was the lightest of all of his siblings. But anyone who don't know better, whether it's with or without the Bible, would think he's a white man. But this cat is a brother. You understand? His father is a Negro, Jamaican descent, as opposed to Bob Marley, whose father is a descendant of, I think, Scottish or Irish slave masters in Jamaica. You can't go by colorism. You can't go by features, a white nose or bigger lips or whatnot, kinky hair. My hair is braided currently, so you wouldn't be able to see it. But that's not the point. The point is you can't go by colorism or features. That is absolutely ignorant, and that is a doctrine that you adopted from the white man ever since slavery. Now, if you have any other questions or comments, no sweat. Until then, we'll get back to the topic of the class. Go shalom yourself to your white slave master. How about that? Right? So let's go back to the topic. Let's define the word authority. Well, not define, but let's go to the definition of the word authority. Bear with me 1 second. Let me share my screen once more, as well as Beagle. Any questions or comments on Beagle, go ahead and ask your questions or comments. We'll get back to the ignorant troll later. Let's first deal with the topic at hand. So this is what authority means, right? Authority means the power or right to give orders, make decisions, and enforce obedience. You understand? And this is why people are crying about a genocide in Palestine. This is why y'all already forgot about the Epstein's list. Y'all are focused on Bad Bunny. Imagine that. The people who are in power today would have you be mad at Bad Bunny because he had the Super Bowl. He performed the Super Bowl in the language of his slave master. Like, I don't get how white people are mad about that. You're mad because, oh, it's Spanish. We don't want to hear the Spanish or whatnot. The hell with the Latinos. Did you not know that Spanish is a white man's language? Do you think Bad Bunny did not sing in Arawak or in Carib or in Taino? No, he sang in Spanish. And y'all still mad about Bad Bunny singing in a white man's language. The problem is not even about the Spanish, is because that man is a descendant of the people you had as slaves on the island of Puerto Rico. That's the problem. You didn't care about what Bad Bunny said. You had an issue when he said, bless America. He was not talking about the United States. He was talking about Canada, Latino America, Central and South, the Caribbean island. Damn, I was shocked. He had the Martinique flag, you know. I was like, damn, Most High in Christ. This is the problem you had. The people in authority had an issue with the people that they had as slaves performing their pride into knowing their history, the brotherhood they had, right? The people in authority did not give a damn about Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria while Puerto Rico was in the dark. You know who did? You know who remembered? Bad Bunny. Bad Bunny remembered. He showed it during his performance. The people he had swinging on the electric poles. nobody really peeped the messages he was bringing out. They were only focused on, oh, he's singing Spanish and I can understand anything. Some Mexicans say, I'm Mexican, I don't want to turn on that shit. That's what they said. Not understanding this is bigger than just a tribal thing, right? It's bigger than just the different dialects or Spanish slang that is between the northern tribes, as far as Dominican Spanish, Puerto Rican, Mexican Spanish, right? It's bigger than that. But we didn't see that. The reason why we didn't see, a lot of us were oblivious to that message, because we decided to follow after who's in power, decided to follow behind the authority of the people in charge. That's the problem. They enforce obedience. You know how they enforced obedience on us? They enforced obedience by lynching us from trees. You know, by Christopher Columbus had the Spanish crown enforce obedience by saying, by lying, right? Him and I think another conquistador, I forgot, was it de Vasquez? One of them. They brought to the Spanish crown. They said, and first he said, these people are the most civilized people. They're so kind. They're so nice. They're civilized. They literally documented it, saying these people must be the northern tribes. They must be the people of God. But he went back to the Spanish crown and said, yo, these people are savages. They're running around naked. They're following pagan gods. And, you know, they're cutting each other's heads off and scalping each other. We have to colonize them. We have to civilize them. That's the lie that was pushed. But when you look into the documentation, when he first met the Taínos, the Caribs, the Kalinago, the Lucayans, which is just different names, right? About the same people. He said, well, they're civilized, you know, and that's how they enforced obedience on us. They enslaved us. That's how today you have Mexicans saying, well, we don't want to listen to Bad Bunny. They have a Bad Bunny. We don't understand nothing. Well, guess what? The Mexica, which is where you get Mexico from, the Mexica did not understand one lick of Spanish when Christopher Columbus and Cortez came over here. The Caribs did not understand one lick of Spanish. None of them understood one word in English, French, Portuguese, or Spanish when they came over here. You understand? The Bible says an ox knows his master. A donkey, one of the dumbest animal, knows his home. But Israel doesn't know who they are. This is the problem with the indoctrination of our people. This is the problem with following the authority right now. Anyone has heard, if you cannot beat them, join them? This is the problem with our people. This is the problem. That's why the U.S. has an issue with a lot of Muslim countries, because they're not bowing down to the U.S. rule. Kim Jong-un is an enemy to the U.S. because, unlike South Korea, he's not bowing down or accepting the influence of the Western society, the white man's world. This is the problem. But this is biblical. But besides that, the point is, we're the only one, whether it's following the white man, abandoning the white supremacy as far as Catholicism, Christianity, to become Muslims. This is the problem. We decide to follow every or any culture but our own. And this is why we complain. This is why the earth is crying today. Why? We already established what authority is. Let's get back to the precept. Proverbs chapter 29, verse 2 says, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. We cannot talk about peace on earth and say, let's fix the system from within. That system was built off of our blood, sweat, and tears. That's why. Now and even us trying to fix the system from within, again, everything is biblical. And that's the thing. We were conditioned to reject the Bible, saying we were enslaved with the Bible, when that's a lie. They brought Catholicism, which is not in the Bible. They brought Christianity, which is not in the Bible. And there are different branches, being Protestants, Baptists, or whatnot. None of these branches of the Roman Catholic Church is in the Bible. None. They said they give us a Bible to read. They didn't. They give us the Negro or slave Bible, which was even compiled in the 1800s anyways. You understand? And when you hear about slaves not allowed to read, they were not allowed to read the Bible. Because when they did, like the brother Nat Turner, they started slave revolts. They started uprisings because they learned that, well, you know what? It's talking about being free from captivity, not being a slave obedient to their masters. That's not what it's talking about. You understand? But Salaki, real quick, when you look into it, the slave Bible was compiled of mostly, they removed like 90% of the Old Testament and 50% of the New Testament, and kept verses like servants obey your masters. They don't read the next chapter where it says masters obey your servants. They don't include that though. You understand? When you look into the Bible, the 1611 King James, the most accurate translation from the Hebrew and the Greek, you find out that it's all about one people specifically. How these people came on the scene, how God chose a specific people from a specific man, from Adam down onto Noah, from Shem, you understand? Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, the 12 tribes, how there was a contract, you understand? There were rules to follow. They broke the rules, which was the downfall of the nation. It's about the birth of a nation, their downfall to their redemption. That's what the Bible is all about. From Genesis to the Apocrypha to Revelation. That's what the Bible is all about. You understand? That's it. If you could tell me otherwise, fine, no sweat. You're going to have to prove your claim. Because again, Proverbs 29:2 says, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. Now, do not forget, I'm going to show you who are the wicked. And whoever you want to argue in the church has said the wicked is the one against God. The wicked is the devil. The wicked is the evil. But what does the Bible say? Not what your pastor say, not what the church says, but what does the Bible says? The Bible identifies who are the wicked on the planet Earth. And don't worry, listen, troll in the chat. I'm going to get to you just now, but bear with me 1 second. Let's go to Job chapter 9, verse 24. It says, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. You know what people will say when they hear that? It says, well, the evil is ruling over the earth, right? Or it's the Jewish man ruling over the earth. It's the Illuminati. What's the nigga again? What's his name? The brother that's a lunatic. He said the Anunnaki, the reptilians. They will say all types of stuff that you might hear on the Alex Jones show, on the YouTube conspiracy theorist channel, right? But it's more simple than that, because you have to read the whole verse to understand who the wicked are. And this is really undeniable, especially if you know about history. Job chapter 9, verse 24. Salaki, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. Who covered the faces of the judges thereof? Who's the judge on the earth? Ask your pastor, who's the judge on the earth? He's going to say Christ. Well, damn. Who covered the face of Christ? Is it the Arabs? When the Arab took over the Israelites and enslaved them, did they make an Arab version of Christ? The Africans enslaved us, did they make an African depiction of Christ with a dashiki on? We were literally slaves to every single nation. Where is the Chinese depiction of Christ? Where's the Chinese depiction of the saints, of the apostles? You go to Russia right now, they still have the Orthodox depiction of the people in the Bible. They're all black. But who changed or covered the faces of the judges thereof? There is only one people on the face of the earth that did that. And it's white people, the Caucasian nation, the Edomites, the sons and daughters of Esau. When? During the medieval period of the Renaissance. Renaissance is a French word for rebirth. You understand? When they were in the dark ages, when at some point we were in rulership in Europe for about 1,000 years or so. And when they came back in rulership, before the printing press, what they did, That's the same reason you think hell is a burning place underground, that there's a purgatory, that there's a heaven with little white naked baby angels in the sky, is because they painted certain images to represent what's in the Bible, which is not. They painted Christ as white. You understand? They painted all the people in the Bible as white. They made an image. I think it's not the 16th chapel, probably the 16th chapel. Adam and God are touching fingers. They're both naked. That's how you know. Good night. Damn. Oh, oppressor, you can't tell me that the oppressor is not wicked. Why would you paint God as half naked and Adam as naked? What would possess you to do such a thing? You're not supposed to show your nakedness in the Bible. Why would the church do that? By the way, it was commissioned by what? Pope Alexander VI or something? Why would the church commission these deviant depiction of angels are little white naked babies? That's how they paint it in the church. In the Bible, angels are not described as such, though. So again, who is the wicked? Even when we finish the verse, it says, if not, where and who is he? If the oppressor, the Caucasian, is not the wicked that it's talking about, then who is the wicked and where is he? Because it says the earth is given to the hand of the wicked and he covered the faces of the judges thereof, right? If the reptilians are the wicked, why is Christ not looking like Godzilla? Ask yourself that. The problem is this. You either repeat whatever nonsense your pastor learned from the white man, or you smoke too much weed and watch conspiracy videos and say, you know what? I got the answers. You really don't. You repeat the nonsense of another drug addict. That's what you do. You should do this. Come to class, ask questions. We just broke down authority. What is righteous authority? Understanding why is there not righteous authority today? Who's in rulership? Who is that wicked? We had to deal with some idiot in the chat that is clearly a colorist. And that's diabolical. You understand? Now, you have to show where is the wicked, if not the oppressor, if not the white man. You understand? And this is the problem. Now that we know what is authority, right, which is establishing, enforcing obedience, the power to give orders, to make decisions. The power to give orders and to make decisions and to, how you call it again, enforce obedience is not given to a righteous people today. We understand that we're the only righteous people because we're the only ones with the law. Matter of fact, before I address the person in the chat once more real quick, right? Let's go to, what is it again? I think it's 1 Peter. Go to 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9. Then we'll also go to Deuteronomy. We are literally a nation that was made to rule. And the only reason we don't rule today because we decided to follow after the other nations. We decided to want to be like the Canaanites. We literally decided to want to be like the Egyptians. This is why the Israelites made a golden calf coming out of Egypt. That's an Egyptian god. None of us made a god that was non-existent before. Every single pagan god we worship is because the other nations worshipped it, and we wanted to be like them. A perfect metaphor is like your parents telling you not to do after the other kids in school. But what you do, you decide to smoke cigarettes to just be like the cool kids. You decide to, some of y'all, I don't want to justify what you do, but a lot of y'all, when we're oppressed in this hell, they sell drugs, they steal, they rob because they're oppressed. They don't see a way or other means to provide, right? Which is not a justification. But a lot of y'all just do it for the thrill of it because someone else do it. Y'all smoke weed for peer pressure. You want to be like the other people who smoke weed. You want to join a gang because your friend joined a gang, because you see people, even the gang culture was adopted by the oppressor. We look at Italians, we look at Irish, we look at the Jewish mob, the Russian mob, and we operate just like them. Nothing in the gang culture literally comes from blacks, Latinos, and Native. Nothing. Everything we do wrong comes from following another nation. It doesn't matter if it's sexual deviancy, criminal lifestyle, whatever we eat. We didn't today in all of our throughout the tribes, pork is damn near the most famous food that we're not supposed to eat. Whether it's in the Caribbean with the chicharrones, what you call it again? There's another word in Mexico. I forgot what it is. They have the blood sausages made from pig's blood, right? The Haitians have, they're right, pork. The Haitians have how do they call the Haitians again? Griot. In Martinique and Guadeloupe, we have boudin. It doesn't matter. The point is this: pork was not a staple of our food among the Carib, among the Taino, among the Boricua. It was not. It was brought from Europe. Everything we do that is wrong for us to do, we get it from the other nations. You understand? Now, let's go to 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9 real quick. About it, if you could stay in the chat, if you could, I'm going to address you in a second. Just bear with me. 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9. But ye are of a chosen generation, a royal priesthood. It's talking about the nation of Israel, not everybody. How you know it's not even talking about everybody? Because it says it starts with being chosen. Only the nation of Israel was chosen, not everybody on the planet. It says a royal priesthood. Who supposed to sit on the throne? That signifies royalty. Who has the scepter? The nation of Israel. Christ, specifically the tribe of Judah. Christ is the scepter. Christ is sitting on the throne of David, a direct descendant, a physical descendant of David, the physical son of Joseph. Why? Because unlike what the church teaches, Mary was not impregnated by a ghost. Joseph and Mary had sex just like your parents had sex. This is how you make babies. This is how Christ was conceived. You understand? And holy nation. If it's talking about everybody, why does it say a holy nation? Holy comes from the Hebrew word kodash. It doesn't say a holy population as far as the humankind or the population of the earth. Is talking about a specific nation. The only nation that was chosen, the only nation that has royalty according to the Bible, according to God, the only nation that is holy or set apart is the nation of Israel. From the Old Testament to the Apocrypha to the New Testament. You can't make it seem like this is for everybody. It clearly makes a distinction out of all the nations on the face of the earth. Let's talk about one specific nation. If we continue reading, a peculiar people. We're special. We're not like everybody else. Listen, how you know we're not like everybody else? Nobody wants to, listen, the East Indians in the slummiest slum of East India, right? In India, nobody wants to be like them. In the most disgusting parts of China, nobody wants to be like them. In the most disgusting parts of Africa, nobody wants to be like them. The most disgusting part of every single nation, nobody wants to be like them. You go, what's the nigga name again? He made the beat Despacito. And he said, he went in an interview, he said, hey, the beach I shot the video of Despacito in Puerto Rico is one of the most dangerous areas in Puerto Rico. But everybody wanted to go there. Everybody was singing Despacito. Understand? Dancehall is one of the most famous music in the Caribbean. Dancehall, you know where some of the biggest artists of dancehall come from? The slums, the areas where no tourists are going. Some of the best football players, I'm talking about football, which y'all call soccer in America, come from the favelas of Brazil. Some areas where nobody would ever, some areas where the police don't even go. So the Bible said, what good could come out of Nazareth? Christ came out of the ghetto. The best thing on the planet Earth come out of the ghetto. You understand? We could come out of, you could be homeless, orphans. We could be strung out on drugs. One of the people's famous rappers was strung out on drugs. Old Dirty Bastard was a crackhead. DMX was a crackhead. But still, people look at them like they're so great. We're being the worst condition on the planet Earth, and we're special. We're so great. Literally, the Bible says we're the salt of the earth. Clearly, it talks about, listen, if you don't believe it talks about Blacks, Latinos, and Native, I don't know what you believe. Stop smoking weed. Stop going to church. Or just, matter of fact, go to church and ask them, who is it talking about? And if it's talking about the whole planet or the believers of Christ, or when they talk about, what you call it again? Those whosoever believeth in him, is clearly talking about a specific nation, a specific people. Who was the priest? Ask the pastor. Who was the priest? You understand? Ask them. And let's see if they're going to tell you the truth according to the Bible, or they're going to lie like the church taught them to. But that's talking about you, Blacks, Latinos, and Native, the nation of Israel. You're the royal priesthood. You are royalty. What should royalty do? Should royalty be ruled, or should they rule? Should royalty govern, or should they be governed? We already established what is righteous rulership. Let's finish the verse real quick. That ye should show forth the praises of him who hath called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. Who was in the darkness? And how was the people that is described right here in the darkness? How? Anyone could answer. And what is light? Precept. Bear with me 1 second. Precept. It's really simple, especially for all you Christians out here. Y'all claim to know the Bible, but clearly I'm asking questions nobody could answer. Right? For time's sake, I'm going to give it to y'all because I have some comments to address on the YouTube, right? This is Proverbs chapter 6, verse 3. This is how you're going to understand. Illumination, Ben said illumination and intelligence. You don't want to say, no, that would be incorrect, right? Because intelligence, you could have a degree. Our people have degrees, and they're intelligent according to what being intelligent is, but they're still in the darkness. I'm going to show y'all what is the light, right? This is Proverbs chapter 6, verse 23. This is how you know what is the light and what people was led into the darkness but came to the light, as we just read. Proverbs chapter 6, verse 23. For the commandment is a lamp, and the law is light. That's what the light is. The commandments, the statutes, the laws, which was given to who? The Israelites. That's the light. That's what keeps us out of the darkness. That's how it keeps you from being, from unaliving each other. The light, that commandment, being brotherhood. That darkness that you're in when you have high blood pressure, how do you get out of that? By following the law, statutes, and commandments. By not eating pork, shrimp, crab, lobster, catfish, conch shell, which we call lambi. You know how to not be lost in the darkness of being a prostitute? You know how? Is to stay with that man. You know how to not be lost in the darkness of being a sodomite? Right? Is to not sleep with another man's wife. Because for those who don't think it's gay to sleep with another man's wife, it's absolutely gay to dip yourself where another man dips. I'm going to just say it like that, not to be too graphic. You understand? To not be lost in the darkness of the LGBTQ community, you do not adopt that lifestyle, which you adopted from the other nations. The law is light. The commandment is our lamp. That's how you know when it's talking about in 1 Peter 2:9 that ye should show forth the praises of him who hath called you out of the darkness into his marvelous light. The light is the commandment. The light is the law. You understand? That's really what it is. We get to the comments. Symbol of truth, wisdom, power, righteousness. Well, as we read, right? That symbol of righteousness, for those on YouTube, I'm also live on Beagle, so I'm addressing the comments and questions. That symbol of righteousness is the law. Following the law is being righteous, right? That's the law. The wisdom. Let's get to the word wisdom. About it, I'm going to get to your comment in a second as well. Now, what is the wisdom of the Israelites? Again, as a reminder, everything is biblical. The Bible has the solution and the definition and the keys to all of our problems. Deuteronomy chapter 4, let's start at verse 5 for context. Let me get to your other comment in a second. Deuteronomy 4:5 says, behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments. Again, statutes is another word for law. Judgments are the punishment that comes with breaking these laws. Even as the Lord my God commanded me. That's Moses addressing the nation. That you should do so in the land whither you go to possess it. Verse 6, as we're talking about wisdom. Keep therefore and do them, meaning keep the laws, do the laws, obey the laws, statutes, and commandments. That's what it means. For this is your wisdom and understanding in the sight of the nations. Meaning what? What is the topic of the class? Righteous rulership. Every nation know who the Israelites are. They enslaved them. They kept records. They know that they'll be better under our rulership. And let me finish the verse and I'm gonna break that down for y'all. But this is the wisdom. Wisdom is following the laws, the commandments, which shall hear all these statutes. Every nation will understand that, well, there is no whores out of the daughters of Israel because they don't throw away their women. In India, India has one of the oldest brothel in the world. They just legalized domestic abuse. According in Afghanistan or Iraq, you could beat your wife. This is not surprising because we know where it's at in the Quran. They said you could beat your wife over there. You understand? But now they're going to look at the Israelites and how the Israelites operate. According to the Israelite records, according to the Israelite constitution, they don't beat their wives. How so? Because we have the laws, we have the statutes, we have the commandments. You understand? There shall be no whores out of the daughters of Israel. They don't see no black, Latino, or native prostitute because we follow the laws. This is our wisdom. There's no Sodom nor a sodomite out of the sons of Israel. Why? Because we follow the laws. This is our constitution. The Torah is our lifestyle. That's the law. The law is our lifestyle. You see how there's different segments or sects of Islam, Shia, or Sunni. There's like two more in Iran and Saudi Arabia. There's the Buddhist in India. There's like 5 different religions. These people are divided within themselves. How are we not divided? We have one law. Salaki, we have one faith, one body, one baptism. We have brotherhood. We don't separate from one another to create our own selves. We don't go our own way. We only have one way to live, unlike these other nations. That's what it says. We shall hear these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. Which get back to the topic of the class, righteous rulership. The problem we have with rulership is what? We look at our oppressor. Don't worry, I'm gonna get to your comment in a second. Let me just break this down, right? We look at our oppressor and we think we're supposed to be ruling. In the Revelation 13, 9 and 10, and in Isaiah chapter 14, 1 to 3, it says that we are rule over our oppressors. The other nations will be our slaves. They'll be our servants. Do you know why our people have an issue with that? Anyone could answer. Why do our people have an issue with being the ruling class? Why do blacks, Latinos, and Native, when they hear that, have an issue with being in power? Who knows? So we could get to the person's comment. I forgot if they said they were a brother or a sister. Who knows? Why? We give y'all a few seconds and we respond for time's sake. Who knows why? I already gave the answer earlier. You understand? The answer is simple. Because we look at our oppressor for everything. We're thinking us being the slave master, as what they would call it, we would rule over them like they ruled over us during slavery. But let's not forget righteous rulership. We have the laws. There are laws in place to even how you're going to deal with your servants. There are laws. Listen, a great example is that during slavery, they were raping us. There is no such thing as rape in our nation. There is no such thing. Rape is punishable by death. And it doesn't matter if it's an Israelite that is raped. It doesn't matter if it's a heathen, a non-Israelite that is raped. It's punishable by death. You're not going to go away with it like they went away with it. You understand? They're trying to push, the LGBT community is trying to push pedophilia as a sexual attraction or preference. I don't give a damn. The point is, that is not going to happen under our rulership. There's not even going to be a debate about what is your sexual preference or not. A man goes with a woman or more than one woman, and a woman goes with a man. There is no gray area. You understand? There is no such thing. You can't beat your wife. What else? There's no argument about, what is it, pork is the new white meat or something like that? It's a lack of pause. But you get the point? There's not going to be an argument about what's right and wrong. We have the Constitution right here. We have the laws. What does it say according to the law? Can you just, the white people, I did a whole class about that, about the atrocities that happened to us, specifically in the French colonies in the Caribbean, like Haiti, Martinique, Guadeloupe, Guyana, right? St. Lucia before it was at the hand of the British. The way they punished the slave, they lacerated our backs until it was bleeding. They poured salt in our backs. They poured lime juice, bird's pepper, just to make us suffer. Then they literally lit up a fire and took the ash from the fire, of course, not with their hands, but they threw the ashes on the fire on our wounds. Some say, well, it's just to heal faster. Come on, you're just going to make us suffer even more. Let's not picture our captivity the way their captivity is going to be. Why? I'm going to repeat myself again, but no sweat. Because Proverbs 29:2 says, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. That's why. Because they will be under righteous authority. That's why. When you come into the truth, you're going to hear a lot of people say, forget about a lot of things, damn near everything you know, because you're going to picture white rulership. They're going to be enslaved, that we were slaves under us this time. Are we just going to feed their babies to alligators? No, you're not. You can't just see a white baby and feed it to alligators. You can't do that. You can't just act like they're acting. They're a more or less people. You can't take example on the people who have no morals. That's why in the truth, we set the standards. Like I said on the YouTube, right? We're live on Bigo. Every day, damn near that we've been live on Bigo teaching the truth, right? Yes, we might crack a joke every now and then, talking different topics or whatnot. We have a verses coming up. Shout out to my brother, Officer 1000 Kwadam from Fayetteville. But the things we have to deal with on a daily basis, we have to deal with people who are so destroyed, who have a lack of morals because they look at a people or adopt the ways of a people that lack morals from the beginning. That's why they act like, I'm going to say it how it is. It's like, for lack of better words, that's why they act like horn dogs. Yeah. This is why they act like lunatics. You understand? They act like thirsty travelers. That's in the Bible too, Salaki. Why? Because nobody taught them morals. They just, a lot of them are weak to their lust. You're going to look at a woman like, you know what? I want to beat it, but I'm not going to keep it. Listen, you beat it, you keep it. That's the law. And if you are a man that cannot deal with more than one woman, maybe you should not sleep with more than one woman. A lot of y'all can't even deal with one. What does the precept say? Some of y'all should not even marry. Why? Because you're not ready. You understand? You're not ready for one, damn near not ready for two. It don't matter what the number is. The point is this. You even have morals. You don't even know how to deal with yourself. You even know how to deal with your own demons. It's a lot of responsibility to just have one wife. I'm talking about a physical wife, right? It's a lot of responsibilities. And this is the individuals we have to deal with on a daily basis when we go on apps like Bigo, like TikTok, like Instagram. We just want to teach the truth, to just doing the same thing Paul did, the same thing all the apostles did. How? They used to travel from Ephesus to Corinth on foot, on what people call a chariot in French is you have a horse and a carriage or whatnot. However, the means of transportation. What do we do today? We go to camp. We teach classes every day in the physical schools, online. We do the same, but we still have to deal with people that so destroyed because of the way they adopted from the heathen that this has become their new normal. It's normal for someone to say, I picked my poison, I smoke weed every day. It became normal for them, but it's really not. You understand? It's normal for a sister to say, I'm just experimenting until I find the right man. It became normal what it never was. The Bible says that shall not be a whore of the daughters of Israel. You sleep with that one man, that's your man for life, until death. It became normal for us. Like people saying that being homosexual is an alternative lifestyle. We don't have an alternative lifestyle in Israel. Our lifestyle is the law. It's normal to say, you know what? I want to try other nations' food. I want to eat pork or shrimp. People eat snails, and they think it's normal. It might be normal for them. These heathens have no laws. We have laws. We have standards. You understand? They don't. Whatever the other, it doesn't matter if a Chinese man wants to eat a rat. You should not eat a rat. That's what matters. In this oppression, while we're not ruling, whatever the heathens do, it don't matter what they do that we should not do. We just should not do it. Let's just not do it. You get it? Now, in Afghanistan, they beat their wives. It has nothing to do with you. It's a horrible thing. We're not going to deny it. What about you? How do you treat your woman? How did the woman treat her man? How do y'all treat the children? According to the law. Everything, you have a question, always refer to your constitution, which is the laws, statutes, and commandments. In other words, the Bible. You know how to deal with a brother when you have an issue? What does the Bible say? What does the Constitution say? Just like every nation referred to their constitution, well, according to the First Amendment, according to the law, such and such and such, they all refer to their constitution. We're the only nation that refers to another nation's constitution, when our constitution is right here. A lot of y'all Constitution have been gathering up dust for the longest time. Why? Because you never opened the Bible in your life. You just listen to whatever people say about the Bible, which is not actually in the Bible. That's why you have to come to class. You understand? Listen to the real priests and prophets of the Lord. But I don't want to be too long with it. I'm going to get Isaiah chapter 14, but real quick. I don't know how many comments you put in the chat about it, but I'm not going to read all of them. I do appreciate you boosting the algorithm. Keep doing that. Right? Now, what's the latest comment you said? If the prophet's word stands, given by the Lord, and Christ did not come to change the law, who are we to change the given genealogy of Israel due to our transgression? We do not have the authority. So first off, where did we change the genealogy of Israel? See, I'm trying to give you benefit of the doubt to address a question or comment. I'm starting to regret being long suffering with you. Damn, it's a lot, kid. You know. But I have no clue what you're talking about. Who changed the genealogy of Israel? What are you talking about? Be more specific with your question or comment, right? Be more specific with your question or comment. Just this other one real quick. There is no justification for going into a woman outside of Israel, which the Lord has forbade Israel to do. We are to follow God, not God follow us. Many generations have sinned, does excuse our sin. What women of other nation are we sleeping with? We know interracial marriage should not be done. Are you referring to your unintelligent comment of being Negro only? Is that what you're referring to? Right? Because I just showed y'all a man that would not be considered a Negro only. If y'all did not know his father was Jamaican, y'all will think just by his looks, he's a white man. But he's the lightest of all his brothers. Like, what's the rapper name again? He's in the US. What's this rapper name? I don't like him. Because I don't like him because, you know, he's not a good rapper to me. Logic, that's the name. Logic looks like a white boy. Let me share a picture right here on the screen. Logic, dad, he's black. He's a Judite, a so-called Black American. Does he look like a Black American? Look at Drake. Drake, the rapper, his son damn near has blonde hair and blue eyes. But Drake is a so-called Black American. His dad's from Memphis. Do they look like Black Americans? You see, this is what I try to give you benefit of the doubt. You understand? But you're saying something so stupid. If you're a brother, meaning a Black, Latino, or native of Negro or indigenous descent, you want to sleep with a Black, Latina, native woman of Negro indigenous descent, regardless of what she looks like, is not a sin. It's not. It's actually the only woman you can sleep with. You cannot sleep with a Chinese woman. You cannot sleep with a Caucasian woman. It doesn't matter if she has melanin like Bob Marley. You can't. You are the seed of your father. You are to stay within your nation. You understand? Now, Logic doesn't look like a black man. Who else? Lenny Kravitz. Is Lenny Kravitz a brother? Let me ask you this. Let me put a picture of Lenny Kravitz. See, this is the problem. You can't deal with idiots. Now, again, no, I don't want that picture. This nigga looks like a sodomite. There you go. Lenny Kravitz, right? Is Lenny Kravitz a brother? Let me ask you this. Is Lenny Kravitz a brother? About it. Answer the question. Is Lenny Kravitz a brother? Because I'm running short on time for the class. So is Lenny Kravitz a brother? If it's a yes or no question, it shouldn't take you too long to put that in the chat. Google could help you. Just say yes or no. Someone said 0 Day said no. No sweat, but I want from About It. Is Lenny Kravitz a brother? CEO Lady Red on Beagle said, isn't he mixed? There is no such thing as a mix. Nubian Queen said, he's a brother. Well, Nubian Queen, what is your ethnical identity on your father's side? If you don't mind us asking, of course. I'm asking a specific question to a specific person. See, there's already 3 people who answered already. You should just say yes or no, or you don't know. Is Lenny Kravitz a brother before I move on? You sound dumb as hell. Good night. So Nubian Queen said her father black, her mom is Cuban. When you say your father black, is he a so-called black American? Right? Now, Zero Day said his father is an Edomite. Good night. It was it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 comments before you could answer about it. See, this is the problem. People say all types of stupidness, right? They can't answer a simple question. And I asked you a simple yes or no question. You had to write like a damn near over 5 word as an answer. That proves that you should not be speaking. Lenny Kravitz, mom, not mom, Salakia. Lenny Kravitz's father is a white man. He's a white Jewish man. I forgot from where, Austria or somewhere like that. Lenny Kravitz is not a brother. But you would say he's a brother just by the way he looks. You would say Bob Marley is a brother. You would say Nicki Minaj is a sister. Do you think Nicki Minaj is a sister? I don't even know if I should ask you the question because you're not going to answer. Nicki Minaj is not a sister. Nicki Minaj's father is a East Indian. She descends of Coolie East Indian indentured servants. Let me not drop my phone. Let me keep my phone like that. You understand? I ask you a question. You don't want to answer the question. I'm deflecting. No sweat. Lord be with you. See, this is the problem. When you are a Shalamite, you should just keep following and kissing the ass of your white slave master. Don't come over here with your stupidness because you're going to be dealt with accordingly and professionally. If you can't answer a simple question, don't even ask a question yourself in return. What gives you the right to ask a question if you cannot answer a question in return? You understand? Until then, you want to keep boosting the algorithm with your nonsense in the comment? Feel free to do so. Keep boosting the algorithm. Like, share, subscribe everywhere because the nation needs to know about the truth and about lunatics as yourself, right? Now, let's get to the precept before we end the class. Let's go to Isaiah. Chapter 14, verse 1. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 14, verse 1. For the Lord will have mercy on Jacob and will yet choose Israel. The Most High will have mercy on 12 tribes. And again, it says that only Israel is chosen, not everybody. And set them in their own land, and the strangers shall be joined with them. And it shall cleave to the house of Jacob. The strangers, the strange nation, the non-Israelite will be joined to us. Why? Because this is what you call the New World Order. The New World Order is not the Illuminati. The New World Order is like, there is nothing new about the order that we're in today. Today, we're in the same order as 100 years ago, as the Roman Empire's order, as the Greeks, as the Egyptian. Every single empire built or established itself from the previous empire. We're the only empire that is going to build our foundation brick by brick from the ground up, that will never to be brought down ever. We're going to last forever. That's what the Bible says. And under that New World Order, they will have to abide by the laws. Just like today you have to abide by the laws of whoever puts the law in place. These nations will have to abide by the laws that are put in place, that were put in place from thousands of years ago. The only reason why nobody listened to them is because we decided not to listen to them. Imagine that. Imagine how biblical this is. Nobody follows the law of God because we don't follow the laws of God. Imagine that. Nobody obeys the Most High because we don't obey the Most High. Imagine how biblical this is. Damn. We will be the governing body with righteous authority. We've seen what authority is, which is the power or right to give orders, to make decisions, to enforce obedience. We cannot do that. You know why? Because we don't obey. We cannot enforce obedience if we disobey. This is the only reason why we don't have authority. We don't have the power to enforce obedience because we do not obey the power, which is the Lord, the Most High God of the children of Israel, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's the only reason why. So, let's get back to the verse. Isaiah chapter 14, verse 2. And the people shall take them and bring them to their place. We'll put everybody in their place. We will check the hell out of them. It's not going to be like America today has an influence over the whole planet Earth. But you know what they do? They allow people to govern themselves within certain restrictions, to a certain extent. There's deals set in place. There's contracts. There's what you call it again? I forgot what's the word. But there's deals, there's contracts or whatnot that they have to abide by, that they can't transgress. If they do, then they might go to war. There might be a conflict. Well, we will put everybody in place and check them and be like, you have to abide by our laws, by our guidelines. Ain't no gray area. Is the Lord's way or no way? Right? And the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord for servants and handmaids. We will possess them. This is them being enslaved. Not because we're going to put them in chains. The Lord will put them in chains, and he will set us over them to rule over them. Right? And they shall take them captives, whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. That's the kingdom of God. We shall rule over our oppressors. Let's read verse 3 for time's sake. Salaki. I'm going to put the sign out link in the chat. Make sure y'all click the sign in and sign out links in the chat. Right? If you want to be in the school. Isaiah chapter 14, verse 3. It shall come to pass in the day that the Lord shall give thee rest from thy sorrow. This is why we can't catch a break, because the kingdom hasn't been established yet. We are establishing the kingdom right now. As we're establishing the kingdom, we're setting the standard for how the kingdom will be ruled. How? By following the laws, statutes, and commandments. We're giving you a piece of the kingdom. You have an issue with someone. You go to them and them alone. You sleep with that woman. You keep her for life. You don't throw her away so she could be a whore passed down the line to other brothers, where she's going to be, in the never-ending cycle of being a whore. You don't do that, right? You're being a father to the fatherless, a husband to the widow. So, I'm just paraphrasing. You understand? We could make damn near a 3-part class about the governing body, about the new world order. Matter of fact, I might just do that. The next class, right? Next Thursday will be in French, but I might have to do that. The Thursday after that, the new world order that will be established will be Israelite order. The Israelite world meaning society, meaning empire. This is what will be established. You understand? And from thy fear. Why? Because today you fear about, we just read an article. There was the show, Blackwash from Commander YAHANNA. They went into an article where a brother was mauled, where he had his scrotum ripped off by a police dog. We fear for our life whenever we go outside. We fear getting arrested. We fear even interacting with each other. We don't know how to interact with each other, and that's part of the curses. The eye of the tender brother amongst you will be evil towards his brother, towards the wife of his bosom, towards his children, and vice versa. Our women were so delicate. That's how our women are described. So delicate that their foot should not be touching the ground. But now what? They're being used as a weapon against the black man, against the children, to raise whores and sodomites. We won't have that type of fear in the kingdom no more. We'll be able to rest, to lay down our head on the pillow and be like, you know what? I don't have to worry about these bills. I don't have to worry about getting evicted. I don't have to worry about getting a job because, I'm scared they won't hire me because I'm black, because the way I look, because I have braids, because I have a beard, because I look like a manly man. I don't have to worry about compromising the person that I am to be accepted by society. Why? Because we set the standard for the society that is to come, for the new world order that is being established under Christ. You understand? And from the hard bondage wherein thou was made to serve. Because why? This is the only way we'll be out of captivity. We won't be captives in our kingdom. Salakia. They will be. You understand? Let me get this last precept. We go to Revelation chapter 21. We can start at verse 1. Hey, Shalom, War Chief. Revelation chapter 21, start at verse 1. Let me put this sign out link in the chat as well. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. Revelation chapter 21, verse 1. And I saw a new heaven and a new earth. Ask the pastor if the earth is going to be destroyed. What about the new heaven? Why is there a new heaven? Go ask your pastor that. No Christian, Catholic, Baptist pastor could break down Revelation because they don't understand. They understand the context about everything outside the Bible and not in the Bible. This is right here. What we're reading about right now is the power shift. Right? This is the power shift. This is our kingdom is being established. Christ told us how to pray, that we wanted to establish the will of the Lord, the kingdom on earth as it is in heaven. We just read about the kingdom of the Lord in Isaiah 14. That righteous rulership will be established on earth. When it says the new earth and the new heaven, it's not in the literal sense where the planet will be destroyed and recreated again physically. You understand? This is just a change of rulership. This is what people call the New World Order, not the Illuminati New World Order. New World Order meaning a new society, a new empire, a new authority. You understand? That's what's going on. For the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. You understand? This the sea, again, is a metaphor, like a sea of people. The same population or society that is today is going to be no more, because a new society will be established. That society that is there right now will pass away, will be gone. Again, you cannot think New World Order like this, the lunatics that intoxicate or medicate themselves. Why? Because their New World Order is the Illuminati, is the reptilians. But we're in the same world as the Romans, as the Greeks, as the Babylonians. It's the same society that's been established from the foundation of another society, of the previous one, I mean. Understand? Not from the ground up, but from the remains of the previous one. We established our society from the ground up, without the influence of another. You understand? Verse 2. And I, John, again, Revelation is a vision from John the Revelator. And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven. Is a city just going to float down out of heaven? Ask your pastor that. No, again, it's the new world order being established. He's in the vision. He's seeing that in the vision. It's a dream. It's a vision. It's not literally coming down from the sky, right? But this Jerusalem, this governing body is established from the Lord. We are establishing the governing body following the laws, statutes, and commandments, right? Prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. Meaning what? That same way that that new world is going to be brought forth is the same way a bride is preparing herself. She's putting on that wedding dress. She's adorning herself, getting ready, that makeup, looking all pretty, looking all prepared to be brought to her husband. How are we preparing that? We're rehearsing the righteous acts. We're coming back to the Lord. we're bringing, we're perfecting our ways. What does it says in Luke? Luke chapter what? I think Luke 1 or 3 and Luke chapter 3 verse 6, or I'm just paraphrasing. It says we're making the crooked straight again. You understand? Like, I'm just going quick because we're running short on time. Let me go to verse 4 and then one more precept. Revelation chapter 21 verse 4. And God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes. This is what we read earlier. What did we read earlier? God shall wipe away all tears from the eyes. When the righteous on authority, the people rejoice. When the wicked bear rule, the people mourn. There'll be no mourning no more in our kingdom under our rulership. You won't have to cry about Palestine being destroyed. You won't have to cry about Epstein's Islands and all the child trafficking going on. It's not going to happen anymore in this righteous kingdom. It's not going to be allowed to happen. It's not going to be even brought forth. Why? Because it won't happen. You won't have to cry about children disappearing. You won't have to cry about families being broken up. You won't have to cry about an opioid epidemic, a crack epidemic. You won't have to cry about, Hollywood being Holly weird. No. In the kingdom, you will have to abide by the law. This is going to be the planetary law. The law, you understand? The kingdom is going to be all over the earth. Salakia. And there shall be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying. You see today how we're crying about diseases. We're crying about, how are you going to die from cancer smoking cigarettes in the kingdom when there is not going to be any such thing as smoking cigarettes in the kingdom? There's not going to be any such thing as selling cigarettes in the kingdom. There's not going to be any cigarettes. Damn. You won't have to worry about ringworm in your brain because you can't eat pork in the kingdom. You won't have to worry about whatever things you catch from eating oysters because you can't eat those type of seafood in the kingdom. If it doesn't have skins, fins or scales, it is not to be consumed. You don't have to worry about the monkeypox. Why? Because there's no such thing as an alternative lifestyle in the kingdom. There's only going to be one lifestyle, which is following the laws, statutes, and commandments. You won't have to worry about homosexuals spreading diseases. You won't have to worry about whoredom. You won't have to worry about she left me. Why? Because in the kingdom, the law will be absolute. There will be no more death. There'll be no sorrow nor crying. There's not going to be any diseases. You won't have whatever is bringing death today, plagues, famines. You won't have to worry about homelessness in the kingdom. You understand? Because they'll be under righteous authority. Neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things are passed away. Everything that brings you pain, tears, death is going to be gone, faded out, passed away. Let me get this last precept and I'm going to end the class. This is the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 6, verse 9. This is the New World Order right here. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Esau, being the white man, is the end of this society. This is the last empire of any heathen that is to stand. Why? Because it says, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Jacob is the next kingdom to be established. And as it says in Isaiah 45 and 17, a world for everlasting, a never-ending world. Paraphrasing again. Our world, our new world order will last forever and ever and evermore and beyond eons. You understand? With that said, I'm Priest and Officer 500 Barak Kiala with the I.S.U.P.K, the Israelite School of Universal and Practical Knowledge, under Commanding General YAHANNA. Right? We're going to end the class right here. We'll be back tomorrow with the Lashawan Kodash class. We may not be live on Bigo for Lashawan Kodash yet. We'll be back tomorrow for the Lashawan Kodash class in English, live on I.S.U.P.K Montreal, Toronto, IET, and One West Ground Zero on YouTube and Facebook. This Saturday, we'll have a French scripture breakdown. Again, live on I.S.U.P.K Montreal, IET, France, and Martinique. We'll be live on Bigo as well. Next Thursday, we'll be live. Listen, just tune in. That's it. You have classes every day. You don't know what classes to tune in? Look for the classes in your zone. There is not one class that you cannot tune into. You understand? So therefore, meaning what? You have no excuses. With that, I'm going to get the security announcements. We'll see you next week, Israel. Tune in to One West, I.S.U.P.K. One West online classes. Captain Tazariak will be teaching the scripture breakdown from Chicago tonight, right now. With that, Israel, shalom. This is the I.S.U.P.K. security announcements. We are the I.S.U.P.K, the Israelite School of Universal and Practical Knowledge, started out at 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commanding General YAHANNA. Rule for new brother and sister: when a new brother or sister comes into the school, they're off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They're here to shut themselves of the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There is another 6 months in which the brother and sister will court each other. After the 6 month period, the brother and sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment. Numbers chapter 18, verse 21, and Malachi chapter 3, verse 8 to 10 means 10th in the Hebrew. Ma'ashara, 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you. Give to the treasury department or teacher. Priest fund, free will offering for priests, not mandatory, whatsoever amount you would like. Upcoming holy convocation, we have the Feast of Purim, which is the 14th day and the 15th day of the 12th month, which falls on Monday, March the 2nd, and Tuesday, March the 3rd, 2026. You can read more about it in the book of Esther, chapter 9, verse 20 to 31. Reminder to all Achiam and Aquathian, meaning brothers and sisters, to check the bulletin board in the hallway of their school if they have a physical location. And if anyone wants to be a trooper in the school, they start wearing all black, boots, shirt, pants, headband, scarf. With that, so we'll give a courtesy salute to the brothers and a courtesy salute to the sisters. Menavijal Amajim, which means to stand. We'll give a courtesy salute to the brothers. Menavijal Amajim Shabbat. Imajim Barak. Yahweh Ba Hashem Yahweh Shai Brakatham. Meaning Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, bless y'all. Yad Jamata, which means hands down. Sar, which means to turn. Turn and face the sisters if you have any in your presence. We'll give them a courtesy salute as well. Menavijal Amajim Shabbat. Imajim Barak. Yahweh Shamar Alathan Ba Hashem Yahweh Shai. And Yahweh, watch over y'all in the name of Yahweh Shai. Yad Jamata, class dismissed. What Israel will be back again this Saturday. Shalom.
Yeah. One West. Some people live the good life. Them and them steak and mummy pot dry. But they tell me I gotta die for happy, for have it. Millions, house and cars and bike. I got the pussy them don't want see we have a 1,000 tall up rifle. I got them want to see na fi we on. You know give we food fi we yam. And when the youth use brilliance, fuck up the road like Gideon. You start call man pillion. The bad boy, true me say don't rush me a bad fly. And true me no got church, me no baptize. Don't tell me no heaven in a that sky when some people live the good life. Them and them steak and mummy pot dry. But they tell me I gotta die for happy. No joy for the black boy. They get to you, them a fuck up the road and tough up the code dust, no go below. C9 man a shuffle the board. And if you no know then, you know fi know. Matic in a waist, we no go lucky mode. This one West boy, get up the load. We no know when, me no shoes and me no food and no clothes. We no do the posing, we no export. Just a wait for the right time for we explode. Hustle man a hustle charge, we make dough. And we can't wait for the next show. Some people live the good life. Them and them steak and mummy pot dry. Come and tell me I gotta die for happy. No joy for the black boy. Millions, house and cars and bike. I got the pussy them don't see we have a 1,000 tall up rifle. I got them want to see na fi we on. Then argue with food for win yam. And when the youth get original, fuck up the road like Gideon. You start call man criminal. In killer them a search for them heaven on earth. Man a fear fight with the devil from birth. Poverty a time for your Lego man shirt. Your man a fi stay blessed all when the land curse. All when the land curse. I know the GLE, them want see we in a one earth. The bad boy, true me said don't rush me, a bad fly. And true me no got church, me no baptize. Don't tell me no heaven in a that sky with. Some people live the good life. Them and them steak and mummy pot dry. But they tell me I gotta die, be happy. No joy for the black boy.
He parted the Red Sea, and the entire nation of Israel walked out of the slavery
The I.S.U.P.K presents the Lord's 57th annual Passover, April 4th, 2026 in Houston, Texas. You do not want to miss this one, Israel. Shalom.
Hey, listen, brothers and sisters, man. If you like what you hear, hit the subscribe button, man. Subscribe to this channel. And also, please, go to isupk.com and pay your tithe. Drop me some cash so we can move around this planet like we need to, man, and do the things we need to do.